Hello everyone, Black Rose Duelist here, and today I'm back at it again, the 14th time now. Yes, 14 times I've done the top 5 decks of the month on this channel, and honestly, I don't think it's ever going to stop. This cycle is going to go on until January 2096, when I officially resign my YouTube career and I retire. I don't know, that was really random, I apologize. You guys don't care about my personal YouTube career, you just want to hear what the top 5 decks are, but listen up, guys, it's not always about you, okay? Stop being selfish, okay? I just got 10 dislikes for saying that. Now I'm gonna actually do the video. Okay, so this month, April 2016, I'm really hoping we're gonna get this ban list, okay? We thought we were gonna get it in, like, February, then we got that, like, fixed adjustment ban list, then we thought we were gonna get it late March, and that never happened, so I'm assuming sometime during this month we're gonna get a ban list. So, if you're watching this at the end of the month, and there's been a ban list, obviously things probably change, so make sure to just realize and take this list with a grain of salt, because things change regularly in Yu-Gi-Oh! Okay, so, number 5, we have Burning Abyss. Pure Brain Abyss. Okay, I don't want to spoil anything, but this is just pure Brain Abyss number 5. I kind of struggled with finding number 5 because the top 4, in my opinion, it's very, very easy to figure out what the top 4 decks are. But number 5, I was going between Infernoids, Mermal, and then I was like, okay, you know what, I'll just do Pure Brain Abyss. Did you hear that? I was like, that wasn't even a hiccup, that was just me, like, trying to get breath. I'm just pouring out my heart and soul in this video. Anyway, Burning Abyss, they got Beatrice, and they got that Fiendish Rhino thing now, and they're just kind of like a stun, beatdown deck now, and like stall, burn, damage, direct damage. They're kind of just like the annoying deck now, and I love it. Honestly, I love annoying decks that aren't like the best deck, if that makes sense. So, yeah, Burning Abyss, they have Beatrice now. They can use Farfa during your opponent's turn, which is ridiculous. They have Beatrice now, which never dies. You also get the Dante Fusion or Virgil, and the deck just never dies. Honestly, I said this before, but the deck is like the most versatile deck I've ever seen in the history of Yu-Gi-Oh! It can always adapt to a new format. It always has plays it can do at any time, and there's never a time when it's your turn and you know you're going to lose. In other decks, you know you're going to lose at a certain point, but there's always tons and tons of comeback plays and ways you can get around your opponent's plays in Burning Abyss, and that's what I really love about them. Burning Abyss is number 5 this month. It's down 1 from last month. It was number 4, so sorry BA, you're just going downhill, but don't give up too soon. Again, not spoiling anything. Number 4, I have Monarchs, down 1 from last month. Last month it was number 3, and I felt like it was in a better position last month. Now we have lots of other decks coming up and creeping up and getting stronger that honestly I don't think Monarchs have a very good matchup against. The deck also faces problems with consistency, and now I think it's more important than ever with decks like Burning Abyss, Phantom Knights, and Draco Pals having very, very fast plays, and Burning Abyss can easily just crumple them, if that's not a word, but Monarchs, they're just too slow in some ways, and it just kind of hinders the deck, and that's why I think it's less relevant this month. It's still a powerful deck, it still has its powerful plays, but I think last month especially, it just kind of rose out because the structure deck was a very, very low price. It's very easy to pick up. Now I think people are figuring out there's better alternatives to Monarchs. It's still a relevant deck. They still have the FTK, which is very, very annoying. They still have all these definitely strong plays that make it so your opponent can't play Yu-Gi-Oh! And I guess it's just there. I mean, it's not an overpowering number 1 deck in my opinion, but it's there. Number 3, we have Draco Pals, down 2 from last month. And I want to explain why things go down. And Draco Pals, it's not necessarily the same as Monarchs. I actually think they're more relevant this month as last month. But there is a new deck that I think is powerful and more powerful than Draco Pals at the moment. It has a better matchup. And you'll see in a little bit. But I just think that Draco Pals, they could definitely, I don't know. I just feel like the deck, because of the adjusted ban list, and because of all the hinderness, is that a word, that they've gotten, and all the limits, and all that, I feel like the deck just doesn't have the same power it once had, and I think Solemn Notice hurts the deck more than it helps it with a defensive mechanism. I think, like, it just doesn't have the same power, and I know, obviously, it got hit on a ban list, or adjusted ban list, but I just think overall, there's like Cosmos and the deck I'm going to mention very soon. The deck just doesn't have the same power as they do, and they can't really do the same strong plays. Now, they're very fast, and they can have the Draco Nister, or whatever his name is, the 2800 guy, but because of all the limitations the deck has faced, I think just the deck, it's definitely strong, and it's definitely fast, but I don't think it has the same power as these other decks do. Now, the deck still has strong plays with, I think it's better than ever to play Ariadne and get lots of counter traps to play against the Brain Abyss and the Monarchs and all them. But I think if now than ever, Pepe is at its lowest point. And I don't say that as a bad thing, it's not as strong as it could be. Number 2, I have PK Fire. Down none, it's actually up. Phantom Knights were number 5, but now Burning Abyss kind of fused with Phantom Knights, and I'm going to consider it a debut at number 2. Now, this deck, I made a video saying it's the best deck this format, and I said my opinion changes a lot, and it does. And obviously, I don't have it number 1. But the deck, it's stronger than Burning Abyss, and stronger than Draco Pals in plays, in my opinion. It's faster than Draco Pals, in my opinion. Honestly, I feel like it's the better Draco Pals this format, and I think it's kind of the same power that Pepe had, but definitely toned down a bit. And the reason I say this is because it is very strong, very consistent, fast plays that it backs up with back row. That makes it your opponent can't attack, their effects are negated, and it's basically the Brain Abyss version that I think is the best Brain Abyss version, the best Brain Abyss version that's ever been. And that's because Brain Abyss, it has monsters like Skarm and like Sir and Graph that replace themselves and get more Brain Abyss monsters out. But that's only 3 of them. The rest of them, Farfa and the Tuner and all of them, they just help you a bit. Now, when you play them with Phantom Knights instantly give you more monsters. So it's like you're playing tons and tons and tons of Brain Abyss monsters that summon themselves. So you're in a position where you can play rank 3 over rank 3 over rank 3 after rank 3, and you can summon the F-Zero guy, you can summon all these monsters. And it's just really, really powerful, and it's basically a better Brain Abyss, and that's why I had Brain Abyss Pure at number 5, because this deck is basically that times 2. It's a lot stronger, it's a lot faster, and honestly, I think it's just a better Draco Pal and a better Brain Abyss by a lot too. So I hope that makes sense. If you want to talk about it some more, I'll talk about it in the comments, but I really do think that it's the number 2 deck. Number 1, I don't want to put this deck at number 1. It was number 2 last month, and I rose it up 1 spot because I feel like because of the rise of Draco Pals and Brain Abyss and kind of the fall of Monarchs, I think Cosmos benefit the most. And I think because Cosmos benefit the most, they now have the better matchups in the top 3 decks. Matchups against Brain Abyss and matchups against Draco Pals are a lot better than matchups against Monarchs. And I think since Monarchs fell down this month especially, Cosmos can rise. Now, I want to include that in all these decks, the top 4 decks, Monarchs, Brain Abyss, Phantom Knight Brain Abyss, Draco Pal, and Cosmo, all of them are pretty equal. They're not all the same. And now the number 1 to number 3, the difference isn't that big. It's not a format like Necros or Dragon Rulers where the number 1 deck is an overpowering number 1 deck. I just feel like Cosmos have a slight edge. They're not the huge number 1 deck, but they're number 1 by a tad because I feel like their matchups are better than the rest. But essentially just look at it as the top 5 decks. Don't look at it as the number 1 deck, the top 5, because all these decks can win against each other. They just have different matchups, and I feel like Cosmos have the best matchups out of all of them, just by a little bit. Now, this deck, like I said, has a very good Brain Abyss and a very good Draco Pal matchup because they can't really get over their ships that well. Brain Abyss and Phantom Knights, they have the F-Zero guy, and they can go Nightmare Shark, but the matchup is just kind of iffy. It's not really in their favor at all, but it's definitely in Cosmos' matchup. And the same as Draco Pals, it definitely goes in Cosmos' matchup. And their matchup, I mean, like, their way. It goes in their beneficial way. And by that, I mean, they can't get over their big ship. They can't really I mean, when they do, it takes a lot of effort, and you can just get another big ship after it. So it really is just there, because it's kind of like Monarchs in a way, because the deck isn't overpoweringly strong. It's just very, very, just, I can't really say it, but like, it's powerful. And it's powerful with backup, and it's consistently powerful. Monarch's not as consistent, but Cosmos, they always can get these strong monsters that are hard to get over, and their plays are always the same. They're pretty linear, like Monarchs. I think both Monarchs and Cosmos are pretty linear. While Burning Abyss, Fam Knights, and Draco Pals, their plays are very out of the place. They change every duel. No duel with Draco Pals and Fam Knights, I think, are ever really the same, because there's always different plays you can do. Well, Cosmos, all you really do is get out of the ship. Monarchs, all you really do is get out of Strong Monarch and make it so your opponent can't really destroy them. That's just all they really do, and I think Cosmos, more than Monarchs, do this more consistently and more powerfully. That isn't really a word, but it just makes it so, it's hard to say, but Cosmos, they get out these strong ships. They're hard to take down. They can do it consistently. They can beat down your opponent, and they're there. Now, I don't really like Cosmos, honestly. I like their artwork, but I don't like their playstyle. I wish I could put PK Fire or Draco Pals at number 1, but I honestly feel that Cosmos, out of all these decks, have the best matchup. Now, if you want to test that, go test it. I promise you. I think Cosmos have the best matchup this format. So, thank you for watching. I know a lot of this is very opinionated, so please take it with a grain of salt. By no means is Cosmo the overwhelming number 1 deck. By no means is Draco Pal the number 2 or number 3 overpowering deck. Same with PK Fire. All the decks are basically the top 4, kind of top 5 decks, with Cosmos having the best matchups by a little bit. I don't think it's that big of a drastic number 1, oh my gosh, you have to stop Cosmos, but it's pretty big, and I think it's the biggest by a bit. So, thank you for watching. Please like, comment, and subscribe. I make these monthly videos every single month, so if you like it, please make sure to subscribe.